Okay, today we're going to talk about a crazy thing that's going on now.
Sensitive topic.
Sensitive, but it's just, to me, it's just baffling, and it's beyond crazy how people assume just because you disagree with a faith or political ideology,
Or an idea even.
yeah, it means you automatically you hate people in that group. It means you hate their guts. You want to find them and treat them
Round them up
like a bunch of witches or something,
Yeah.
which is not the case.
Which is not the case.
No pun intended, right there.
Anyway, yeah, in this case, we wanted to particularly bring up Islam. Oh, I said it.
Yes, you brought you said the word, man.
The I word.
The I word, yeah. Because it's a thing that if you're vocal about it and you disagree with it, you're automatically labeled Islamophobe, and that's not the case at all. I mean, I hate that word per se, and I hate the other word Islamophobic.
I hate all the random phobics that
The
they
phobics,
put.
yeah, because
Just because you don't like an idea doesn't mean you're afraid of it either.
definitely because this is 2016. The law of Moses doesn't belong in this day and age, and also the law of the Sharia that does not belong in this day and age.
Right, and the problem we have with Islam is really it's rooted in Islamism,
Yeah,
which is a militant form of Islam which plans to basically spread Islam by the sword.
sword or any political means, through
Yeah.
political trickery. It doesn't always have to be by the sword.
No,
It could be through organizations like the Muslim Brotherhood, for example,
or care.
or CARE, CARE, for example, like using more that'd be a good word to say, subtle means, more sneaky,
Yeah,
stealthy means to get their agenda across.
right.
That's who we're talking. Whenever you hear a future video from us, and if we talk about these any Muslim or anything about Islam, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the far extreme political element of it.
Right, and to really kick things off, we have to just note here that the Quran is in many ways a political text.
Yes, the Quran and the accompanying hadiths.
Yeah,
That's where they get a lot of their political laws and ways of life. I mean, there's basically
like the Didache for Catholics except Muslim.
yeah, they basically have a full set of guidelines for almost anything. They can look up to it and get guidance.
How to win converts and
Yeah, how to win converts.
and alienate people.
Yeah, I mean, in the way. I mean, there's like ways you blow your nose in there. I mean, there's so much in there.
Yeah, and honestly, it's funny because it actually encourages a lot of really superficial offenses.
Yeah, and when we bring this up, we are against the idea of people trying to overthrow and replace secular governments with theological theocracies.
Yeah, and it just so happens that right now the big perpetrator of this movement is Islam.
Yeah, and we're going to go back to the very beginning here. We don't hate the people at all. Me personally, I've been to a mosque, and I was welcomed and greeted by
How dare you?
yes,
Okay, sorry, go
I
ahead.
was welcomed and greeted by like 20 plus people. I felt loved and welcomed. They talked to me. We discussed different ideas. I asked them questions. They asked me questions. They didn't go jihad on me and try to kill me and everything. It was just like anybody else.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but what I'm trying to say is, people can't help where they're born, and sometimes a lot of people of this faith are born into it, and some people are converted into it. But that's what I'm saying. We're going back, people or people. You're going to have some bad people, or you're going to have some good people.
Yeah, and I think there's a distinct difference between the cultural Muslim and the political Muslim.
Yeah, and we're not talking about your friendly Muslim neighbor. I have friends of this faith,
Yeah.
and they would give anything to help me. I don't hate them.
Not
I don't
your
secret
garden variety mall Muslim, but
Yeah.
your crazy
Yeah.
jihadist Muslim.
Yeah, we're talking about that particular one. And there's a fringe. I hate to admit, there's a fringe group on the right who thinks all Muslims are like this. It's a small fringe, but they're still there, and we are here. We don't. This is one thing we try to do in our show. We don't want to talk in absolutes. We don't want to label all of them together.
We're never going to tell you that all of one people are like this, or that every person that follows this ideology is like that. When we won't be speaking in absolutes. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's not effective. You can't govern and just alienate everybody.
Yeah.
You gotta narrow it down, especially for the people who are actually doing wrong, and leave the innocent people alone.
Right, if there's any innocent, good, decent, Western civilization, happy-go-lucky, you leave me alone, I leave you alone, Muslims, we're not talking about you. You have no reason to be offended.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we have a lot of people who they make a lot of politically correct statements. They'll say everything about Islam and everything about the literature and everything that goes with it, the way of life, everything is perfect and beautiful. But they never opened up a Quran in their life. They never really went further beyond and researched it. And granted, I've done a little bit of research myself, and there's some good in there. Not everything is good. I'm honest with you. I mean, I'm being subjective here. There's a lot of things I disagree with, and I don't think should ever be in this day and age. But does that make me automatically I hate all Muslims? No. It's just my opinion. Yeah. That's what the point we're trying to put across here is we want to have an environment where we can disagree without making everybody automatically assume we are some. I hate when they bring this up, racist. Islam is not a race.
No, it's not. It's a religion and it's an ideology, and I also want to get this straight too. We can talk about Christianity and Judaism till we're blue in the face. We can talk about Hindu till we're blue in the face. But in this particular case, and I encourage anybody talking about this amongst friends and family, don't get sidetracked. Don't be drawn into talking about other religions and cultures. Right now the prominent religious problem facing the earth is radical Islam.
Yeah, it's a definite clash of cultures, and it's really upsetting for me because I talk with some Muslims in Muslim countries, and some of these people are pretty liberal, open-minded people, but they can't freely express. I mean, I can't speak English anymore. They can't freely express
themselves.
Who they? Yeah, I'm turning one of those people, like the.
Oh, you said those people. I'm offended.
The hippie softy, whatever, but they can't freely express who they are out in public or question anything, or they would face the consequences. It's really upsetting.
It is, and a lot of the Muslims you see are what I call cultural Muslims. They were born into it. It's all they know. It's all they've been exposed to, and it's really just. It's kind of like being a Easter and Christmas Christian.
Yeah, my mom and dad were from Pakistan or whatever, and this is how they did things. So I guess I'll do it. I don't know why, but I was just born into it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that they're brain dead or not thinking about it or anything. It's just what they know.
Yeah, and everybody to a point, has influenced by their parents. We're not the exception. But this is how it is. With a lot of these people, and like I said at the beginning, there's some Muslims out there who will give you the coat off their backs, and they will do anything to help you. And they could be amazing people. But that's different from the doctrine and the ideology of where they're getting, in their sources. It's completely different.
Yeah. And then there are some out there that would give you the coat off their back to make a point, to subtly weave their way in your life and subdue you with lies.
That's also, I've experienced that also. Not with everybody, but there's some people who are...
And that's true of any religion, honestly.
Any religion, yeah. But I mean, I experienced,
But Islam officially sanctions it.
Yeah, I've talked to many Muslims. I've only encountered one Muslim like that, but it is out there. Where they would, casually, coerce you and give you little things here and there, and you're like, oh man, this is amazing, man. This is great. This Uma thing, this is amazing. I want to be part of this, and they just lure you in like that, but they don't tell you everything up front. There's some things you don't find out till later.
Right.
So.
And while that's true of any religion, like I said, it's officially sanctioned in Islam. Muslims aren't allowed to lie to non-Muslims if it advances the Islamist agenda.
Yeah, and in another later video, we'll do continuation videos for this. We'll provide sources. We're going to provide Islamic sources. We're not going to go on some.
It's not going to be from Redneck Bill's Facebook page.
Yeah, we're gonna do our due diligence and actually get Islamic sources. We're just gonna basically. Me personally, I'm gonna look through the Arabic sources also, and I'm going to basically share what I read. That's all I'm gonna do. If it's perfectly clear, like everyone says, of this faith, then it should be perfectly clear.
Right, and let's be upfront here. What all of this padding here that we're giving is to simply state we're giving this an objective look, and some of the criticisms aimed at Islam are perfectly fair.
Yeah, and it's perfectly rational. Like, isn't like a phobia an irrational fear?
Right.
Obviously it's irrational to be afraid of every Muslim. That's silly,
Yeah.
But to be fearful of the few who have an ulterior motive
Or radical tendencies.
Yes. That's perfectly legit. That's a perfectly legit fear right
and
there.
some are self-declared enemies of not only America and Americans, but even liberalism, classic or otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's ironic that some of the people sticking up for radical Islam are people that radical Islam wouldn't hesitate to kill.
Yeah. And it just shows that they're really, this is a different thing. They're very crafty. Very crafty. Look, the political Islamist here. We're not talking about somebody who just goes, prays 5 times a day and goes to the mosque on Friday and that's it. They do it in Ramadan. They don't bother anybody. We're just talking about the people who want the power. They want to transfer, in whatever means necessary, the country they're in into an Islamized version of that.
Yeah, or subvert constitutional law for Sharia law.
Yeah. And we both here, we love the Constitution. We love our set of laws here. And they're not all perfect, but we have good systems here.
We have an excellent standard on which we can weigh things. The great thing about the Constitution is that it's pretty darn clear as to what principles guide it, as to what rights individuals have, and what governments cannot do to infringe on those rights. And sadly, Sharia is not compatible with American constitutional law.
Yeah. Not at all.
And not necessarily even as the Constitution was founded, because there are some things that, as founded, Constitution and Sharia would align on, such as in the original Constitution, male landowners were the only voters. And that kind of masculine society is something that Islam promotes, but the Constitution has changed through amendments.
Yes, and it's able to change.
Right.
So whatever was good for one time, it could change over time. Sharia does not change.
No, it's unmovable, unchanging, and brutal.
Yeah, they are really, it is a very bad thing. I don't think there's any prominent Sunni sheikh out there. That's the main sect of Islam right now. I don't think any out there who was advocating that, we need to reinterpret the Sharia. We need to change everything about it.
Right.
And granted, there's some things in that law that, pretty reasonable.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Any law that says do not murder is obviously a good law.
Yeah.
But the structure of Sharia is not in such a way as to preserve individual rights such as our law is. it's actually more so about preserving Islam.
Yeah, in a way. And I've seen some documentaries on how it's run. It's like a kangaroo court in some cases. It's hit or miss. Okay, it's really hit or miss.
It's up to the whims of the court.
Yeah, in some cases you need like four witnesses or it's just we'll get into more detail and provide actual sources and facts in the following videos. But right now we're just trying to the main point of this video is we're trying to separate
Paint a good overview.
paint a good overview of the